Well, it finally happened. The largest U.S. residential solar installation company just went belly up. What led to the collapse? And what does this mean for existing customers and for the solar industry as a whole? I'm going to be answering these questions in today's video. The smarter way to go solar. All right, now in today's video, we're going to be talking about the recent announcement that Titan Solar Power, the largest U.S. residential installer, has gone out of business. Now, according to Solar Power World, Titan Solar Power is the #1 residential U.S. solar contractor with over 218 megawatts of solar capacity installed in 2022 alone. And I know here at Solar Surge, we've personally signed up hundreds of homeowners to have their solar system installed by Titan Solar Power. However, we've learned that on June 13th, Titan Company employees received an email informing them that the company was ceasing operations. In fact, we were able to obtain a snippet of the email, which we'll share with you here, which informed the recipients that after 6 months of negotiations with a potential investor, the deal fell through, and therefore Titan was no longer able to continue business operations. Now, the email did mention that employees would receive their paychecks in accordance with state laws. However, no mention was made of commissions to be paid to third-party dealers or sales representatives. By the way, if you had a solar power system installed and the company that did the original installation went bankrupt, go ahead and leave a comment below. We'd like to hear from you and what your experience has been. Also, if you're a solar sales professional or a solar sales dealer and the installer or the EPC that you worked for went bankrupt and didn't pay you your commissions, go ahead and leave a comment as well. We would really like to hear from you on this. Okay, so what were the factors that led to Titan's business failure and the slowdown in the solar industry as a whole? Now, there are really 4 main factors. The first, of course, is the loss of one-for-one net metering in many solar markets, particularly in California when they moved to the so-called NEM 3.0. Now, when you talk about a solar net metering program or a solar buyback program, what this means is that your relationship with the power company essentially becomes a two-way relationship. During daylight hours, when you have excess solar production, you can power the home directly on solar electricity, and all of your excess solar electricity can be sent back to the power company as credits on your account. And so the way it's supposed to work is you send them all of your excess during the daytime, which then earns you enough credit on your account so that during the evening hours you can pull back in what you need from the utility using the credits that you've already earned. And that works great when you're getting a one-for-one credit. In other words, you send them a kilowatt hour during the day, you can pull it back during the evening, and it all balances out to zero. But what a number of the utilities have been doing, including in California, is they've gone away from the one-for-one net metering credit to more of a 4-to-1. In other words, you have to send the utility company 4 kilowatt hours of electricity during daytime for only 1 that you get to pull back. And so, of course, that kills the return on investment for a solar power system. If you're just looking at it purely based on the numbers, it's cutting your payback period down to 25%, or it's extending your payback period by 4 times of what it would take you to recoup your investment. So this has not been good for the industry. The other factor, of course, is the higher interest rates. Now, for the past 18 months or so, the Federal Reserve has been increasing interest rates, and therefore interest rates that solar lenders are able to offer to homeowners have been steadily rising as well. Whereas just 2 years ago, it was very common to find solar financing in the 1.99 or 2.99 APR range. Now it's not uncommon to have solar loans that are in the 7, 8, 9, or 10% range. And this really negatively impacts the industry because a majority of how solar is sold is on a bill reduction or on a bill swap. In other words, the solar sales professional is coming to the homeowner with an offer saying, hey, Mr. Homeowner, you don't have to pay anything down for your solar panel system. What we're going to do for you is we're going to set up some financing to where what you used to pay the power company, let's say you used to pay the power company $300 a month for your electric bill, we're going to come in with a solar financing package to where you only have to pay $200 a month. Well, that math works out great when you have low interest rates and low dealer fees, and we'll talk about dealer fees here in a moment. But when you have to pay higher interest rates on your financing, and if the utility is not giving you full credit for your extra solar that you're sending them during the daytime, then that cuts into your payback. Now, the other factor, of course, is the higher dealer fees. And this is part of the whole solar finance equation that usually we don't like to talk about. But when we talk about dealer fees, these are basically closing costs or fees that are paid right off the top to the bank right at the outset of the project. So before the contractor is even paid on the project, the bank is paid a lump sum dealer fee, which they use to offset other costs, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. Now, part of the reason that the dealer fees have risen steadily over the past year is because the solar business failure rate continues to increase. And so oftentimes the lender has to step in and, for example, in the case where the contractor that does the original installation goes out of business, if they have a borrower that refuses to make payments on their solar loan because the solar system's broken but the contractor's not coming to fix it, then the finance company may have to go hire another contractor to make repairs on the system. And that's just part of why the dealer fees have gotten as high as they have been, and I believe they're going to stay high, is because as more and more of these solar business failures and these bankruptcies work their way through the pipeline, I think the lenders are going to be coming under more and more pressure to provide operations and maintenance service for these abandoned solar systems. And the fourth major factor affecting the slowdown in the residential solar space is the fact that the solar lenders are delaying the payment schedule to the contractors. Now, it used to be that a solar contractor could draw up to 50% of the total contract amount as an advance to help them cash flow through the project. Meaning, once they had all the financing approved, once they had all the paperwork approved, the contractor could draw basically half of the cash value of the contract in advance of actually installing any equipment. And the idea was, well, it'll help with material purchase, it'll help with engineering and permitting costs, so the contractor doesn't have to cash flow all of that on their own. Well, what we've seen is as conditions have gotten tighter and the industry's begun to slow down, the lenders have also gotten more cautious on how they're willing to advance project funding. In fact, many lenders are holding 100% of funding now until a project is fully complete or fully PTO'd, what we call permission to operate, which means not only does the contractor have to buy all the materials, perform all the work, get all the inspections passed, but then they also have to wait for the power company to swap to the new meter or to activate the solar buyback. That, in some cases, that could be 2 or 3 months after the physical installation work is complete. And so you can imagine as a solar contractor having to put out all the cash first and then wait to be paid 1, 2, or 3 months after you've completed the work puts more pressure on the contractor. By the way, if you haven't seen our previous video on the banks are to blame with Jake Hess, where he talks about how the banks essentially flip the script and change the terms on payment schedule to the contractor midstream, is part of what's leading to a lot of the pressure in the solar industry, could have contributed to Titan Solar Power's collapse as well. But with Titan going out of business as the #1 residential solar contractor, that's now over 100,000 abandoned systems that are out there. And when we use the term abandoned systems, what we mean is this is a solar system that was installed by a contractor. Most of these systems came with a 25-year warranty and production guarantee, and those guarantees are now void. And that's a great time to introduce today's video sponsor, Solar Insure. If you're considering installing a solar and battery storage system for your home, then there's no better way to protect your investment than Solar Insure. Solar Insure is the leading solar warranty provider that gives you total system protection for 30 years. The program covers all major system components, including solar panels, racking, inverters, and optimizers. Roof penetrations are also guaranteed for 30 years. And the warranty includes labor, so you're covered even if the contractor who does your initial installation goes out of business. So if you're serious about protecting your solar and storage investment, then tell your contractor you want Solar Insure, or go directly to the website so you can find a list of certified providers in your area. Thank you, Solar Insure, for supporting the channel and for sponsoring today's video. Now, Solar Insure has a product that they call Solar Detect, and it's designed specifically for abandoned solar systems. Meaning that you've already installed solar, the contractor that has installed your solar has already gone out of business. You can purchase a Solar Detect warranty, which is essentially an ongoing maintenance and protection plan to make sure that your system, the monitoring stays active. Any repairs or maintenance that might be needed, they have a fleet of service personnel that can help with that and basically step in and provide the service that your original contractor should have had they been able to stay in business. Now, over the past year, I've had a chance to travel around the country and meet with a number of solar contractors and really figure out what are the contractors that are having success in today's environment doing differently than the companies that are struggling and failing. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that some of the most successful contractors in today's market are companies that did not try to grow too fast. These tend to be smaller regional contractors. Maybe they service 1 or 2 states. Or if they're in a very large state like California, they may focus on just 1 or 2 metropolitan areas. So they're not trying to be everything to everybody. They're not trying to grow too fast. And frankly, they're not trying to travel too far from home. They generally try to stay within 1 or 2 hour drive of the closest field office. Now, the other thing I noticed that the most successful contractors are doing is they're making limited use of third-party sales dealers. Now, when we talk about a sales dealer, it became popular in the solar industry about 10 years ago to have separate companies, one company that does the sales and marketing, we call that the dealer, and then a separate company that does the actual construction. We call that the EPC, or Engineering Permitting Construction Company, the actual contracting company. And so a number of contractors that chased aggressive growth would recruit a number of independent sales dealers, right? They figure, hey, if you have more people out there selling solar, that'll drive more work into the business, drive more growth. The problem with that is that many of these sales dealers used aggressive, high-pressure sales tactics, and in some cases, very deceptive sales tactics, which led to a large mismatch between capabilities and financial savings that may have been promised at the time of sale, and then what the actual benefit was delivered once the system was installed. And so that led to a number of complaints and a number of issues. And so what I've seen is that the most successful contractors long-term, they make very limited use of sales dealers, and if they do use sales dealers, they provide very tight guidelines and very strict quality control about what projects and what contracts they allow to come in. And then of course the other thing is, these contractors price their projects at a healthy price. Folks, I've said it a number of times now, but I have to say it again. Solar is not one of the things that you want to shop on cheapest price. And I'm afraid to say, in the case of Titan Solar Power, this was one of these companies where they had a high volume but low margin approach, meaning they offered very low red lines to their sales dealers, which then allowed the dealers to offer cheaper, more competitive pricing to the homeowners. But what good is a cheap price if the company goes out of business and now you have to hire somebody else to service the warranty? So what I've seen personally is that the most successful contractors long-term, they price their jobs at a healthy price. They're not at the high end of the spectrum, but they're definitely not trying to be at the low end of the spectrum either. They're right there in that middle competitive range, which allows them to do quality work and to actually make a profit, so they have an incentive to stay in business long-term. So folks, you really want to look at it like this. If you are going down the path of evaluating contractors to have a professionally installed system on your home, you really want to look at this as a 25-year partnership, not as this is a single transaction with a contractor and I never have to deal with them again. That's not what this is. You're not buying just product, you're buying a 25-year relationship, 25-year performance, 25 years of service. And so you want to make sure you have that long-term approach, which means you get what you pay for. You really don't want to hire the cheapest contractor in town. That one's going to be even more likely to go out of business. By the way, if you're in that process now of evaluating solar contractors, if you need to talk through some options with a solar expert, or if you just need to get a price quote to make sure that you're getting the best equipment and getting a good, fair, solid deal, as always, you can use the link below here to schedule a call with a solar expert, or you can use our free online quote tool to see how much solar and battery storage costs in your area. Also, when you hear about business failures like Titan going under, this is another reminder of why many people are choosing to install their own solar panels, or at least to be their own project manager and to bring in help from a roofer or an electrician where needed, but where you would basically buy all the materials yourself and be responsible for any warranty service that may be required in the future. For those of you that are in a position to do that and you don't require financing, you may choose to install your own solar power system. And of course, there are some great new products available on the market, like for example, the new EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra, as well as the Bluetti EP800, which allow you to do most of the assembly of the solar inverter and battery system yourself. And like I said, just make limited use of help from a roofer or an electrician to make a couple of final high voltage connections. So we'll have those items available for you at the link below. You can go to the Solar Surge store. We actually give you a small discount compared to if you just go right to the manufacturer directly. So if you're interested in a self-directed solar installation where you can purchase the equipment or most of the equipment directly, be sure to check out Solar Surge. We'd be happy to help you here. Well, folks, that pretty much does it for today's video. Again, Titan, #1 residential solar installer, has gone out of business. Folks, I have a feeling that there are still many, many more solar bankruptcies that are working their way through the pipeline. And of course, we're going to be covering this and making sure that you stay up to date with us. Of course, if you're getting good value from the videos you watch on Solar Surge, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. That way, as the new videos publish, it'll come up on your feed and you can stay up to date with us. Well, I thank you all for spending some more time on the Solar Surge channel today. As always, I'm Joe Ordia, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.